Finally, I got my hands on Ghost of Tsushima, and we're going to do a review, guys. We're going to go break down the game, but it's going to be a lot different than my other reviews. My other reviews are very long and in-depth, and not only do I just not have much to say about Ghost, I wanted to tackle this a different way. I want to more talk to you like, not like I'm doing a professional review or I'm breaking things down in categories. I just want to straightforward tell you how I felt. And without being around the bush, I'll tell you that I do like Ghost of Tsushima, but it's a very different type of like. It's not like, I said Dead Island 2 is my game of the year. I love Forspoken, and I want to also, before I get into the video, say I'm very grateful and thankful for you guys to watch this review, listen to this review. You can listen to anybody else. You decide to listen to me. You decide to even listen to me about this old game. But, a lot of people are looking for updated opinions about games, even if they're old. So this is my opinion. This is just my view. I'm going to go over some objective things about Ghost. Like I'm going to go over the things that, my opinion is not swaying, the gameplay, how it functions, the story and the story beats, all that stuff. But overall, I thought that Ghost was just an okay game. And a lot of people say that Ghost is the, the Assassin's Creed they've been wanting, that samurai Japan-based Assassin's Creed. And I understand that. Like, for anyone who hasn't played Ghost, it does have that Ubisoft formula, that Ubisoft open world formula of you're going to be in a decent sized world. The world map is going to be filled with fog. You got to uncover the map by, taking out bases, doing side quests that really just amount to, like, contextually, it's different things, but really it's the same thing. And it's basically go somewhere, track somebody down, kill them. That's essentially every quest. They might do it differently, like as in the story around while you're doing it, but essentially it's the same thing repeatedly throughout the game. And the game can last, if you just go straight through the main story and the main side quest like I did, the game isn't that long. But if you decide to do everything, you could get possibly 100 hours, if not more, out of this game. I did not play Iki Island. I played just the introduction to it. I didn't even go to Iki. I just did the quest, not realizing I was doing it. I did the quest that leads you to Iki Island. Maybe one day I'll play that quest. But I honestly don't feel much of a want to play Ghost anymore. And I know you're probably saying, man, but it doesn't sound like you like Ghost of Tsushima. It's not that I don't like the game. Like I say, if I had to say what this game was to me, the best way to compare it is, imagine if someone, and it's funny that I'm recording this right after I ate. Imagine if you were hungry and I gave you some food, and the food I gave you didn't taste good, but it didn't taste bad, and you're not hungry anymore, but at the same time, you would probably never request what I gave you ever again. It wasn't that it was nasty, and you can't say it was bad, but you don't want it anymore. Like, it's just, Ghost of Tsushima felt like something I did for some hours, and then I stopped doing it, and I don't really even care to do it no more. The game isn't forgetful. Like, I remember the story. I remember the characters. I do remember the few times the game elevated itself above just being kind of like very average. And I remember times where the game kind of went a little bit below average, but it's not too much good to say. It's not too much bad to say. So what do you do in Ghost? Well, you're going to mainly be fighting people in either your samurai form or in your ninja form, or they call it the ghost form. So that basically just amounts to melee combat and stealth combat. This game tries to do the Nihon thing of having, multiple stances, but unlike Nihon, which is very complex, this is very simplistic. You change stances based upon the enemy you're fighting, and there is zero reason to be in a different stance other than the one you need to be in. This functions as it intends, but it doesn't, if you don't feel anything behind it. Like, to explain what I mean, when you play certain video games with melee combat, they either do one or two things. They give you a lot of flash, but each attack doesn't feel impactful. So like a Devil May Cry, Bayonetta, each attack you use, typically, you don't really feel any tactile feedback when you press the button, but you could do all these crazy moves because you got all these crazy inputs, and it's all about remembering different button combinations, and the difficulty comes in trying to be as stylish as possible while taking out your enemy. Those are a certain type of hack and slash video game or melee style combat video game. Then you got some that are more focused on impact. So, you're not doing a bunch of stylish moves, but you are, like, every hit feels impactful. Every attack feels impactful. When you hit the enemy, like for example, this is a samurai game, so using a sword. When you attack someone with a sword, you can really feel the impact. I'll give you an example. If you play Sekiro has way less combos and crazy things you could do compared to Nihon, But in Sekiro, you feel like each swing of your katana is heavy, and each blow that you take, or not take, or you deliver rather, it feels impactful. This game is in the middle where you have kinda a combo string. Like it's the combat when it comes to combos is deeper than Spider-Man, but it's not as flashy as Spider-Man. It's like they went the middle of the road here. So you'll have like, your regular light attacks, and then you have some mix-ups with heavy, like, you'll press heavy 3 times, or heavy, then pause, then heavy, and stuff like that. But the animations are very simple. You're gonna do the same thing over and over again, and you're just gonna get into this rhythm of doing something that's not bad, but not fun or exciting either. Like the most exciting part about Ghost to me is my own imagination. Like any game you could do this with, where you could play a game and use your own imagination to get you into the feel of the game. People call it immersion, but I personally feel that should not count as a positive towards a game when I have to use my own imagination to make something more enjoyable for me. Matter of fact, if I'm now using my own imagination, that means that the game is not doing what it's supposed to do, which is entertaining me. It may be inspiring me to entertain myself, which, depending upon the style of game, like a game like Dreams by PlayStation, which is a creation tool, that makes sense for that, but not something that the developers went out their way to curate for me. I shouldn't have to sit here now and compensate for them not making something good enough or exciting enough for me. I have to now use my own imagination. So when I was playing this game, and even using my own imagination, when I played this game, I tried to immerse myself. I tried to dress up like a ninja or be in more darker clothes when I did stealth. But that's annoying because switching between outfits is annoying. The game incentivizes you to switch between outfits because each outfit has different stats. But you'll quickly realize that, one, this game, if I'm playing on normal, by the way, these stats make you very overpowered. So even though, I'm switching on to the outfit that deals better with stealth, it just makes stealth is already easy. Now it's even easier. But to be immersed, I switch to it. But then switching to it is cumbersome. It's not fun. So then I get to this point where I'm just going to wear whatever outfit I like and stick with it. And it doesn't matter that I technically am at a disadvantage with bonuses because the game is already easy. It doesn't even matter. Now, this all sounds like negative, but one place the game does shine is in its inspiration for samurai movies. That's something a lot of the developers and old reviews talk about, how it really reminds you of a samurai movie. And those portions of the game is done at a high level. Like you'll do these one-on-one fights, these one-on-one battles. By the way, these battles are no different than fighting. There's these enemies called the Ronin. Most of the one-on-one fights with regular samurai are just Ronin fights, but the camera angle is in a dynamic angle. And then the Mongol fights are just regular Mongol bosses that you'll fight any other time, but the camera angle is, again, dynamic. So, but it does look nice. It reminds you of a samurai movie. When you do the standoffs, they remind you of a samurai movie. But that's not enough to carry a game for me. Like the first few times that happens, it looks cool. Like when you do like the mini game with the haiku, which is you just picking different things and making a poem, like the scenery, the graphics, like that seems to be the biggest focus of this game is its visuals. And I think that's the driving force for many people. Like if you're a person that really loves graphics, this is something that may carry the entire game for you because it does look nice. To me, it looks nice in a very soulless way. Like it looks almost like one of them Unreal Engine games. You'll technically say, oh, this technically looks good, but it's nothing particular about it that makes it look special other than I like bright, colorful games. So that's good that it's bright and colorful, but it really doesn't have anything special about the graphics other than they just look technically good. And not to, almost bounced off, combat because I'm kind of just talking. Going back to combat with the stealth, again, basic level of stealth, they'll give you tons of objects and things you can use, items you can use in your stealth missions and stuff like that. But really, the default just stabbing someone in the back is good enough. Like everything else is just kind of something you can use, but the game doesn't ever put you in a position where you would probably think to yourself, I need to use these other objects, because it would not only make my experience easier, but it just makes sense to use all these other extra abilities. And to be fair, plenty of games, like I said, this game is compared to Ubisoft games. Far Cry, as Far Cry went on, they gave you tons of stealth mechanics that half of them aren't really useful because the baseline stealth mechanics is good enough to deal with everything. But at least I could say they were easy to use, simple to use, right? And even if you didn't have to use them, they were cool enough to use. So what do I mean by simple to use? The way this game works with the controller is like you got to like hold down the button the trigger to then switch between stuff. I felt like this game had too, like, you know how people say Spider-Man PS4 had too many gadgets? Well, even if Spider-Man 4 had it did have too many gadgets. Like, actually, this is a perfect example. That game had so many gadgets that most people didn't use half of them, right? But at least switching between the gadgets was intuitive. This game has a bunch of stuff that you're not going to use, and it's not very intuitive to switch between. Like, some things you switch between to slows down time to make it easier. Other things you switch to don't. The weapon stand switching, it's not like Niho where you just tap one button and you switch stances. In this game, you got to hold down the button, let time slow down, then you switch to switch. And you might say, well, that doesn't seem like, that's like almost like the GTA weapon wheel. What's bad about that? In GTA, there's a quick swap. There's a way you can do it quicker than letting it fully slow down time. In this game, if you don't let it fully slow down time, it won't register properly. So if you think you're smart or quick with your fingers and you say, oh, I know what I need to be, what stance I need to be, I'm gonna quickly switch to it. If you don't let it slow down time, it's not a guarantee you did it, like you've registered. So then you end up getting hit and taking damage. And there's also a minor complaint is the camera. The camera is not the best. This game does this thing where the main character, Jin, will kind of just lock on to a particular character. There is in the options traditional lock on where you choose who you want to lock on to and you can swap between who you lock on to, right? Like the Z targeting system in a Zelda game or the Grand Theft Auto lock on system. The game wasn't designed around, even though it's available for you to use, it's clearly not designed around that. And I tried it and I just turned it off. So I use what the default one is, which is Jin automatically locks onto an enemy. The problem with that is Jin typically locks onto someone nowhere near him. So you'll be in a big skirmish and there's a guy literally right next to you. But Jin, you could tell who he's locked onto by who he's looking at. He's looking at someone not even on my screen anymore. I don't know what determines, typically whoever tries to come and attack you first is who you lock onto, but he doesn't necessarily lock on to people next to him. I can even, like, the game has this mechanic where he'll be locked on to one person, someone could be next to you and you can kind of attack in their direction, right? Which is, I guess, supposed to switch the lock on, but it doesn't always do that. Sometimes he'll just attack in the direction you swing in and he's still locked on to the guy far off in the distance. That can get it is not that bad because the game is so easy. You don't really die from it, but the only time it gets annoying is with the ghost stance. The ghost stance is the last stance you'll get, and this stance allows you basically, like, if you get so many kills in a row, you get an insta kill. Again, the game is already easy enough, so outside of this being cool to do, even if you lose it, it's not a big deal. And then you can wear the ghost outfit, which then allows you to, like, only in 3 or 4 kills, I think you can get it, compared to like getting 8 kills in a row. So it's not that big of a deal, but it's still a flaw. Like, the camera system should be better than this. Now, something I really did like was some of the side activities, like, but these things you can't really mess up. They had a mini game where you get more resolve. Resolve is like the stuff you use to auto heal. Again, going back to the game be easy. You could just auto heal anytime you want to, like Spider-Man. But this game, you could get more resolve through doing the Bamboo Strike, which is just a memory mini game. That's fun to do. You know, if you like the combat is satisfying enough that doing bandit camps can be fun, but I never went out my way to do a bandit camp. It was kind of like if I was passing by one and I just felt like doing it, then I'd do it, but I never, it's not like Far Cry. I really love the Far Cry games. I really love a lot of the Assassin's Creed games where, because the gameplay is good enough, I feel compelled to do these things. This isn't like that. This is more like, I kind of did it because I was passing by, whatever. Side quests, like I said, you'll do them. Those are good from the story part. And, the gameplay is fine, but every side quest from what I can remember was basically the same thing of somebody did something, somebody needs to be found, someone needs to be searched, you go look for them, you track down, you look at some tracks on the ground, you follow them to the tracks, and then you fight somebody, and then you win, and then the quest is over. That's typically it. Then there's these shrines. That's my favorite side activity. It's kind of like Uncharted. You know how Uncharted has those segments where you climb stuff and the climbing isn't difficult, but at least it looks really cool, really cinematic. That's what this is. And you're rewarded with these charms. These charms are cool and all. Like, this going to the light RPG element. But again, like I keep saying, the game is so easy. This isn't like Horizon, which is another Sony game. That game has RPG elements, but I never felt like getting those materials that you latch on to your outfits that make you like stronger in certain attributes. I never felt like those things were so strong. Like late game, they'll get stronger, but this game is like, the game's already easy. Then in the beginning, you get some, like some will say minor damage increase. It's really not minor, bro. It's a minor, but it's really a big damage increase. And then by the time you get to late game and you're getting like moderate and like whatever the one above it is, increase of whatever it is, whether it be attack damage, health regen, whatever, the game is playing itself. So I didn't even put most, even though the reward for shrines are those things, I didn't even put most of them on unless it was something like, some don't deal with combat. Some were like, you get like extra kunai, which I guess technically deals with combat, but that's different. That's like increased in, you know, your items. Or another one was like, as you explore, you see more of the map. Like I would put those on, but the stuff for combat I really wouldn't use. And as for story, even though this game is old, I will not spoil the story because somebody may not have played it. I did like the story, especially the voice acting. Now, this story, when it comes to what you're going to be doing, the plot, it's a simple plot. If you watched enough movies, played enough video games, you know this type of story. Essentially, the Mongols come and invade. You know, Jin is a samurai. He was raised a certain way with certain traditions, and now his traditions are being challenged based upon this new threat. And again, if you've played any game dealing with something like this or watched a movie, you know what's probably going to happen. Matter of fact, in the very beginning of the game, without spoiling anything, this is like the first 5, 10, 15 minutes, the main villain tells the samurai, hey, I've been studying you guys. This is how I prepare for the war. And this is how I know like everything you do. And this is how I'm going to defeat you. So just use your mind. Like, what do you think Jin's about to do? If the whole game, like, it's no secret. The game is called The Ghost of Tsushima. And like every preview, every trailer talked about how he's going to go against his traditions to, you know, win the war. The trailer is it's self-explanatory. There are some decisions you can make in the game. And let's just say I'm not gonna say what decision I made, but I made a decision where, you know, I did the happy ending. That's what I call it. And, you know, that stuff is cool, but that stuff doesn't really amount to nothing. Even though this is a Sucker Punch game, Sucker Punch made Infamous, and they had stuff in their games where it was like you could choose to be good or evil. And it really did feel like an impactful choice. This isn't like that so much. It's the choices are there. It almost feel like they put choices in it just because it's a Sucker Punch game, but it don't feel like half the choices are just dialogue options. They don't really shift or sway anything in the game. There's no morality system. There's no, what they could have done, which would have made the game cool, is the fact that early in the game, right? You'll like do a stealth kill, and then Jin will have a flashback to when he was a kid learning to be a samurai, and his uncle is teaching him honor. And I thought that maybe this was a sign that if I keep doing stealth kills and breaking my honor, then Jin will change dynamically. But honestly, that stuff doesn't mean anything. It's just something they threw in the game, and I feel that was a misstep. I feel like you ever play Red Dead? You play Red Dead Redemption, you know how you can be good or bad, and it does actually change the ending and how people view you. They should have probably did something like that, which would have been on brand, because like I said, Sucker Punch already did that in Infamous. I don't know if that's something they definitely should do if they do a sequel to, I don't know how you could do a sequel to Ghost, but if they do something similar to Ghost, they should definitely bring that mechanic back, because not only are they known for it, they always done it well. And I just felt like here, it was almost like they were going to do it and they maybe ran out of time, or just, I don't know. It's just like a lot of this game feels like that. A lot of this game feels like they got stuff functioning and then they just didn't add that salt. You know, it's like they cooked some food, but they didn't season it. So you'll eat it and say, okay, this steak was done, and it was cooked well, but I don't taste anything but just straight up beef. I don't even taste like enhanced beef. You know, when you put some salt on something, at least it brings the flavor out. This is like someone cooked some food and then season it. And that's why this game is just so weird to recommend. Like, I can recommend it. I bought this game Black Friday deal, $30. I don't regret my purchase. I got maybe 40 hours out of just doing the main campaign and a couple side content. If I ever want to turn it back on again, I can. I can see myself. I will say this. I have this term. I might do a whole video about it. I have this term called podcast game. What's a podcast game? A podcast game is a game that I turn on, that I'm in the mood to play a game but not pay much attention to it, and I want to listen to a podcast or do something else, like I'm more paying attention to something I'm listening to than playing a game, but I kind of want to do both at the same time. Ghost is a perfect podcast game, because you can still turn it on and have fun killing people or, you know, doing some stealth, but it's one of those games where, like, you know, I don't feel like if I lost, I don't care. If I won, I don't care. I don't. It's just something to do. You know, it's something to do. That's what Ghost is. Ghost is like something to do. That's the end of the review. So guys, let me know what you think in the comment section. Did you like Ghost of Tsushima? Do you like this more organic, more casual way of doing reviews? I don't mind doing reviews this way. My last two reviews are way longer than this, and I was more structured in, okay, this is the story time, this is the gameplay time. I kind of did that here, but it was, a little bit more all over the place. I wanted to deliver it this way because I wanted it to sound like if you were just talking to me. Like if you just say, hey, what you think about Ghost? This is probably what I would say. I would probably say it way less than this, but I would say stuff this way. I wouldn't just write it all out, be scripted. I just wanted to keep some bullet points to keep me focused, but everything was mostly off the top of the dome. So let me know what you think in the comments of this new format. Let me know how you guys are doing so far, even though it's the first of the year. Tell me your New Year's resolutions. What did you want to do for the new year, since we're breaking in 2024 with a Ghost of Tsushima review. But anyway, you guys have a good time, a good day. God bless, and I'll see you guys with the next video.